What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John, back again for the debrief. I'm not going to do the intro because we've got little time. John's got his dinner in 12 minutes now, 20 minutes. John, you were in the away end. I was in the
Yeah,
home end.
yeah. I wanted to ask, because I mean, it was amazing yesterday. Before we talk about the performance, I wanted to ask you because you said to me this morning on the phone, because you were sitting with the home fans, you just loved the fans. I know you did want to mention it, and you were quite jealous that you wasn't in the away end yesterday. What was it like from somewhere else in the ground?
Do you know what, right? And I mean this. I hate sitting in the opposition end. Of course I do. But I keep myself to myself. I'm not aggressive. I don't shout and scream or do any of that. I just play along. Gentle claps and stand up. Yesterday was awkward because I didn't know the song that they walk out to. You know, when they all stand up and they got their flags up. Didn't know that song. And they do it again for the second half. I'm the only person in the picture not in red. So honestly, it was a. I'll put me because I was all over TV yesterday because of where I was sitting. I'll put me on at the end of this video, and you will see how much of a sore thumb I stuck out. And when you sit and you hear the Everton fans, I've done it at Wolves, I've done it at Villa, and I've done it at Forest. I, I feel with pride because those fans, you, Frankie, and the other 3,000 that were literally pretty much the whole bottom row of that stand, didn't stop singing, didn't stop supporting, didn't stop getting the lads going. You know, the Ndai song, the Beto when he's coming on. You know, Charlie Alcaraz, all of the players get G'd up. And you know what I noticed yesterday as well is how much the away fans respond when the Everton players G them up. Because Decore at one point on a corner, I think it was, goes over and G's up the fans, and the fans are there giving it impact. Go on, go. I just, every time I sit in a home end, I realise why I love being an Everton fan. Because if that's what I'm like in those situations, you know, away at Leeds, away at Norwich, then yeah, I'm very jealous to those away fans. I was very, very jealous of you yesterday because what an experience, what an atmosphere, and the fans. I'll be honest, right? I get it. You know, over the years, I've been called a wolf, been called a plastic scale. I've been called all sorts. Shouldn't support Liverpool, Everton because I'm not from Liverpool. Blah 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 blah. But how can you not support a football team like Everton when it's that amazing?
That away end yesterday was unbelievable. It was weird because when we scored, this is going to sound really, really sad. I got quite emotional because of all the away games that Frankie's been to. That's only the second time he's seen us win. The first one was West Ham that long ago when we done the overnight stay when Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored. So I was made up for him yesterday, but I was also made up for them away fans who do that week in, week out. Because I thought yesterday, now we're going to hit on the performance. I said this to you this morning. I think yesterday's performance was probably the best performance we've put in since David Moyes come back. And we've slagged players off on here. We've said Decore hasn't given us enough. You quite rightly pointed out. Every time he picked the ball up yesterday, he looked to drive forward and bring it forward. That's a positive. Listen, I'm not saying I want Decore to sign another contract because of one performance, because I can also go on to Jack Harrison. We had more quality up front yesterday, but some of the balls that he put across yesterday, we could have won that game 3-0 yesterday. So I just thought the team selection worked out to be spot on. I thought his in-game management with the substitutions was spot on. Obviously, apart from maybe taking Ndai off instead of Decore, but listen, that's in hindsight because Decore got the winner. So obviously, Moyes got it right. But I just thought that the setup with the team as well. We were first to every second ball. You know, we spoke about it this morning. They're big game players. The likes of Alanga, he come on, and I was like, shit, he's a good player. Him didn't get a sniff. I thought we done well against Chris Wood, who's having a flyer of a season. Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't really in the game, and I just thought the game plan, and from 1 to 11 yesterday, and the subs when they come on, stuck to it, and I thought it was a really, really good performance.
It was. Do you know what? I'm going to use the word I haven't used in a long time, but it was a sensational performance because every single element they got right, from Pickford's distribution to his, commanding his box, to Tarkowski and Branthwaite winning every header, to Jake O'Brien being physical, strong. And by the way, he's absolutely rapid. I didn't realise how quick Jake O'Brien is, but he's absolutely electric. Mikalenko, almost playing a bit like Zinchenko, he picking up the ball on the left and cutting inside. He carried the ball through the centre of midfield on the right-hand side of the pitch at one point.
When you mentioned the other three defenders then and Pickford, if you didn't mention Mikalenko, I was going to drop him at that and say that's probably his best game for us for a long, long time, Mikalenko. I thought he got up and down the wing, he defended well, he brought the ball out well, as you quite right pointed out. He ran from left back right across the middle of the park. Just thought it was all round brilliant performance.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, and look, this doesn't change my opinion because, as everyone knows, my opinion has changed on this player. But me and you had this sort of debate earlier. I can absolutely see why James Garner starts, because he might not be brilliant, and he definitely goes missing, and he definitely makes the odd mistake. But I definitely felt more assured in the middle of the park, when he was with Garner. I definitely felt more assured with Garner and James Garner than I do with Tim and Garner. It might be something that Tim develops. I'm not saying he's not capable of it, but as of right now, I just think James Garner's experience helps in that midfield. And I thought you could tell that yesterday, because between Garner and Garner, they did such a good job on players like, Morgan Gibbs-White, Jota Silva. I thought they were fantastic, and they allowed for the ball to be kept on the deck, which was a huge thing. And I will talk about this in a minute. But
sorry.
No, carry on.
I think James Garner's the sort of player. Listen, I've been one of his biggest critics on this channel. You've always thought you're seeing more in him than what I did. I think James Garner's the sort of player, and I agree with you, he was better yesterday. I'll give credit where it's due. I always have on this channel, and I'll also slag them off when I think they deserve slagging off, in my opinion. But I think James Garner, when you've got a team and another 9 outfield players playing like they did yesterday, I think that brings the best out of James Garner.
Yeah. And the passages of play, I got. If we'd have listened to me, right? If this is, I'll be straight with you, right? If we'd have listened to me on the match preview, and David Moyes goes, right, okay, yeah, I'm going to listen to Mike from Blue Boys Network, and I'm going to go 4 strikers up front, and I'm going to go with 6 centre halves and just ping long ball, and we'll win the second ball because there'll be 4 up front. We'd have lost that game. And it's exactly why I'm sitting here and David Moyes is in the dugout. And Brozier, I thought Brozier had a good game when he was on the pitch. I thought he was commanding. He's got better footwork than Beto. He can control the ball well. He's got pace so he can get in behind. He's just a better footballer, if I'm being honest. I don't mean that as a dig. Beto might be great in a one-on-one situation and Brozier not, but the overall hold-up and everything else, Brozier was better at. You mentioned the two. That were so difficult to Decore and his signature, fucking, call me up stuff. And Jack Harrison, I said on my reaction that that's probably one of the top 5 games that he's played for Everton. Now I've watched the majority of the game back. I'm actually going to say it was his best game in a blue shirt yesterday. I actually thought Jack Harrison had his man on toast. He cut both in and out. There was a lovely through ball he played for James Garner, and James Garner got his shot off. He makes a good save from the keeper. But equally, he then would go on the the outside and ping a ball to the back post, and then Dye almost scored from a header. That is exactly what we have been screaming out for from wingers for a long, long time, and he delivered yesterday. And then the other one is Ndai, who was literally, he was literally an inch away from scoring a goal from a header. He was a second dodgy touch away from scoring a one-on-one from a stunning over-the-top ball. And his first touch was brilliant. We were great yesterday, and not winning that game would have been unfair.
I think when you look at the game and the performances from the two teams, I think Everton were worthy winners, even if it was the 94th minute, because as I said before, we could have easily scored at least another 2 goals with better finishing up front and a bit more luck, as you say, and Dye's second touch for the ball that was played over the top to him that he ran onto. But I also thought Beto done okay when he come on. He ruffled a few feathers, and then obviously the goal comes from Dwight McNeil being persistent and putting their player under pressure. He robs it off him on the halfway line, runs, obviously brings it forward and puts a ball across, and Decore just hits it first time. And it was a good finish by Decore, that, because what you've found with a lot of our players in the past, Michael, when they've got time to think about what they're going to do, because he had that much space, we've seen them go wide, or we've seen them straight at the keeper, or we've seen them hit over. So I actually think, even though he was clean through, it was a good finish by Decore. Great ball in by Dwight McNeil. And listen, from now to the end of the season, you're probably going to see more of Dwight McNeil. I think yesterday that will give them confidence now for the rest of the season. Yes, they weren't great yesterday, but overall, it was a really good performance against, let's be honest about it, a good Notts Forest team the league doesn't like. Yeah. But I think getting that winner so late on yesterday, and also added to that, us keep going. We could have easily just sat back after 85 minutes and went, right, let's shut up shop. You can't allow Notts Forest, especially with Alanga coming on, you can't allow them too much space because they will hurt you 9 times out of 10. Obviously, Everton didn't let them hurt us yesterday. But what I liked was the mentality to push for the winner and not settle for the point. And that is a mentality that David Moyes has instilled into this team. And, I think is it 1 defeat in 13 now or something like that?
13. 2 in 13.
2 in 13, yeah. And quite a few of them have been draws. But if you look at the performances overall, from this tough run of fixtures that we spoke about before April, when we had Liverpool, we had Arsenal, and we had Notts Forest away. We give Liverpool a good game over them 2 derby games. We got a draw against Arsenal, then they go and beat Real Madrid 3-0. And then we go away to the City ground against the Forest team who were flying and get 3 points. So for me, April hasn't been that bad. Out of 9 points possible there, we've picked up 4 against Liverpool, Arsenal and Forest.
The other thing that I wanted to mention just briefly was the fact that when you actually look at those 13 games, you've got this saying, I don't do if but to maybes. And I'm not saying that this is any different because, you don't do if but to maybes. But actually, when you look at where we are now compared to where we were under Sean Dyche, it's actually unbelievable how different he's got this group of players playing. Do you know Jake O'Brien now has more clean sheets for Everton than he did appearances under Sean Dyche? It's absolutely ridiculous how brilliant he's been. And, when you look at the way that we've set up, when you've looked at the way that, David Moyes has got to tune out this side, it literally makes you think if Everton just had 2 more better attacking players that could stick the ball in the onion bag consistency. Or, when Beto had that purple patch, but then he fell off a bit, you had a striker on the bench who could come on and change a game. Because in those games, Everton didn't. The way away at Brentford, didn't have one. Wolves didn't have one. We were 2-0 up against Man United. We've slipped. Everton legitimately could have an extra 6 points. At least. Everton could have been 2-0 up in the first half at Liverpool. The point I'm making is I know we haven't got the points, but can you imagine how exciting it could be next season if all David Moyes does is build on this back four and goalkeeper? I'm telling you now, John, I, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but I am so excited about next season already. First season in Bramley Moore, some investment in that team.
Yeah.
We're going to be some team. I'm telling you now, we're going to be some team next season.
It also makes you think, we all know when Sean Dyche probably should have went earlier than what he did. And it just makes you wonder, again, it's another if but maybe, which I don't normally do. But now you're doing it, I'm going to do it. Can you imagine Sean Dyche getting sacked 6 games earlier and David Moyes coming in 6 games earlier?
John, it'd be unbelievable.
And I just think Sean Dyche's words where he couldn't get any more out of this team. He thought he took these squad of players as far as he could. Well, I'm sorry, I've said it before and I'll say it again. David Moyes is actually getting an extra 20% out of this squad of players. And 20% in the Premier League, when we fought relegation for 2 years, look where we are now. Look at the teams we're above. I just think he's done a magnificent job.
The other thing that I just wanted to mention is I actually think it's a little bit of a positive that players like Jake O'Brien didn't play under Sean Dyche, because now that I've seen David Moyes and this Everton side, and I've heard all of the stuff from Sean Dyche, and I heard all of the comments he made about the previous players. You've literally got previous players. You've got current players that have said nothing positive about Dyche. Nothing. You've got a group of players that are now playing a slightly different way at the back. They're pressing forward. The Everton team is just so much better. So I'm glad that players like Jake O'Brien didn't get indoctrinated with that absolute drivel that we had to listen to in his press conferences and everything. And this isn't a dig at Sean Dyche. This isn't a video just nailing Sean Dyche. But the point I'm making is we are chalk and cheese. And for him to tell us that he couldn't get any more of this out of this group of players, and we've only won like 6 and drew 6, or something like five wins and 6 draws in the last 13 games. I am sorry, but that speaks absolute volumes for how shit of a manager Sean Dyche really is. And for all of those pundits that come out and go, why get rid of Dyche? David Moyes is no better. Paul Merson, fucking Chris Sutton, all of the others that were on there, all of the media channels that were doing it on Talk Sport, all of that rubbish. I'm sorry, but this is exactly why fan channels are so important, because me, John, and all of the rest of the fan channels, I'll support us all there. We give you the real. We give you the absolute real, unless you're so far up that club's arse that you don't give them the real. But I'm telling you now, the average fan channel that pays for their tickets and goes to their games and listens to them fans and gives opinions, we're fucking right.
Well, we've been proved right, haven't we? Listen, there was some Everton fans who didn't want David Moyes back, and listen, that was their opinion. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. But I'd put money on it. A lot of them fans and the people on Twitter who didn't want him back, they're eating humble pie now, mate, because I'm telling you now, there's no one who could have come in the situation that this club's in, with the squad of players, that 12 of them are out of contract, and 4 loan players who aren't that good. Alcaraz is probably the better out of them all. Brozier's okay. But for him to come in and do what he's done with this squad of players, I don't think any other manager could have done it. He's given the players an identity. He's given Everton Football Club its identity back. And yesterday, when we scored, and you could hear them away fans, and I got, as I said, I was made up for Frankie more than anything, because it's only the second away win. I said this a couple of weeks ago, and my feelings are only getting stronger now that we've got our football club back.
Yeah. The very last point I want to make, this is a very quick one, John, because I know your tea's there and you can smell it. Yesterday, Charlie Alcaraz darts into the box. He beats his man, and he gets taken out. It's a body check. Some people are saying it's two people coming together. The thud, I heard the thud from where I was sitting. I thought, oh my God, that's horrendous. That's a penalty. It is a penalty. I've seen it, and I believe it is a penalty. It's my opinion. It's a penalty. But even if you don't believe it's a penalty, which is fine, I've not seen it on the match of the day. They just chose to ignore it. Didn't show it on Sky Sports News. Didn't talk about it in any of the after game shows. And I'm sorry, if that was other teams in the Premier League, we'd be dissecting that. And I'm telling you the reason it's happened. The reason it's happened is because over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Everton have been stitched up by refereeing decisions, or they had one go for them last week potentially, that has meant the media go, keep them quiet. We're just going to ignore that. We're just going to close our eyes to that fact.
Mate, do you know what? We can stand on here and sit on here and whatever you're doing, and we can moan about this because we always know that Everton don't really get decisions. We don't get decisions, but you've got other clubs. Again, I'll name him. I think he's the most protected footballer in the Premier League, as in Virgil van Dijk. Fulham last week, he should have had a sending off because he elbowed. Have we heard anything about that? No, because it's not in their narrative to pull Liverpool out, right? They only do it for the good things with some other teams. He should have been sent off for the elbow. He gave a penalty away early. It should have been a penalty earlier on when there was a coming together in the Fulham in Liverpool box for Fulham. They have a narrative. There's this big narrative around this big six, and we've always spoke about them on here. They're so protected because they're the Sky darlings. And I'll say it before, and I've said it, I'll say it again. The other 14 teams in this league are only there to make the numbers up. So they're not going to show decisions that should go for little Everton because there's this vendetta against Everton. And we all know a stat the other day, mate, Mo Salah scored more goals in the Premier League as penalties than Everton have been given. That stat speaks volumes. Absolutely speaks volumes. They're protected. They're the Sky darlings, as I keep saying. And until someone does something about it, nothing will change because they don't want that six. They don't want teams breaking into that big six. If Forest don't fall away on their own, you watch how many decisions start going against Notts Forest from now till the end of the season.
Absolutely. Exactly the point I was making. Exactly the point. Bet I can almost guarantee that Forest gets shafted. As soon as Chelsea and Man City start needing to turn it on a bit, Forest are going to be against 12 men.
Yeah. It'll happen with Villa and Newcastle as well, mate.
It's a joke. But hey, listen, look, we are where we are. That was your match debrief. I'm also doing a bit of a special video tomorrow again with Forest Fan TV. I'm going to address a couple of things as well. Obviously, the poverty chanting, I just don't agree with. I don't agree with that. I appreciated the fact they apologised before it happened. You know, as content creators, they apologised. I appreciate that, but you know, there was still a fair few thousand fans singing it. But I'm going to get their outside opinion on how excited Everton could be, because I think they saw us yesterday. They probably saw Everton probably quite close to their best. So if Everton could be consistent like that next season, where can we be? And I thought I'd ask a Forest fan's opinion because they've gone from where Everton are to where Everton, where I'd like Everton to be. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Other thing I'm going to say, John, following Manchester United getting absolutely smashed at Newcastle today, Everton are now 13th in the league.
Well, last time I looked, it was 1-1.
It's now 4-1.
Oh, well, I tell you what, how has he still got a job there? Also, as a fan channel as well, we also want to wish another Evertonian all the best, as in Eddie Howe. They get taken to hospital on Friday, so it doesn't matter whether he's an Everton fan or not. You don't want that to happen to anyone. So, from the Blue Boys Network, and probably speak for the majority of Everton fans, get well soon, Eddie Howe.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, guys, we will leave it there. Tea is waiting for John. Guys, keep smiling. Up the toffees. I'll see you tomorrow.